This is a true story, I swear. Most people wouldn't believe me, but I went through it. Every time I tell it, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Well, if you want to hear it, here it goes. It was the summer of 1977. My friends and I had planned an all-summer adventure, and we decided to take turns having sleepovers at each other's houses. My name's Gloria, by the way. That Saturday night, I was staying over at my best friend Diane's house. We had been planning to camp out in her backyard for weeks, and now that it was midsummer, we were finally getting around to it. We invited our other friend Joanna too. As the sun began to set, we started setting up the tent, putting out food, decorations, and lighting to make the night fun. When the tent was fully up, I decided to go inside to lay out our blankets. The moment I stepped inside, something felt off. The tent seemed larger. I brushed it off, thinking, cool, a big tent, and kept moving, setting down our bags. But the deeper I walked, the further it seemed to stretch. It was weird. The tent was small on the outside, but the inside felt endless. As I kept walking, it got darker until out of nowhere I saw a door. I thought maybe my friends were pranking me. "Very funny, guys. Putting a door in here to freak me out," I yelled. No one responded. I hesitated, but then I opened the door. Behind it were more doors. It was so bizarre. I turned back to leave the tent, but there was no tent, just a solid wall. I was trapped. I screamed for my friends, but no one answered. At that moment, panic started to set in. Maybe this was still a joke? A really elaborate one? I thought, okay, maybe if I just go through one of these doors, I'll get out. But every door I tried was either locked or led to nothing but pitch-black darkness. The deeper I went, the stranger everything became. Finally, I came to a red door. It was different from the others, covered in strange symbols. I opened it, and suddenly, I was falling for what felt like forever. When I hit the ground, it felt soft, like I had landed on a bed. But when I got up, I realized I was in the middle of a forest, a cold, dark forest. The sounds around me were horrifying, chewing, screaming, laughing. I had no idea what was out there, but I knew I had to run. I ran and ran, but no matter how far I went, it was like I wasn't getting anywhere. Then I ended up in water, deep water. I was terrified, trying to swim out, when something grabbed my foot and yanked me under. It was a creature, with a human face, sharp fingers, and scales. It dug its claws into my side, piercing my skin as I fought to break free. It kept dragging me deeper, and just when I thought I wouldn't make it, I saw something swirling, a bright light. I reached for it, and the next thing I knew, I was falling again, this time landing in a blank room. This room is very strange, I thought to myself. The floor was sticky, like marshmallows, and the walls seemed to move. Everything was warped and wrong. I didn't understand what was happening, but it was real. All of it. It took forever to get across the room because the floor clung to my feet. I looked up, and the ceiling looked like waves of water. It hit me then. Maybe this is where I fell through. This place was playing tricks on me, and I wasn't sure I could get out. I found another door, but I was terrified of what was behind it. I braced myself and opened it. I heard chopping. A woman was screaming. It sounded like a chainsaw, but I wasn't sure. I ran, but it was like moving in slow motion. I was trying to get to the other end of the hallway when I opened another door, only to see a woman, half torn apart, trying to grab me. I screamed and ran the other way, straight into a room covered in strange patterns. I could feel eyes on me. When I looked closer, I realized there were people moving, blending into the patterns on the walls. Their faces were distorted, and they moved so strangely. I tried to run, but I started melting, sinking into the floor, becoming part of the room just like them. They were screaming something, begging to go home. I can't remember exactly what I said in that moment, but I think those words were the key to my escape. The instant I uttered them, I felt myself melting through the floor. I couldn't move. All I could do was scream. Suddenly, I found myself back in the tent, wrapped in my blankets, still screaming and twisting around. Diane and Joanna shook me, asking why I was so terrified. I recounted everything, but they didn't believe me. "You've only been in the tent for 2 minutes," they insisted. I thought to myself, I couldn't have been sleeping for just 2 minutes. It didn't feel like a dream. I swear it was real. I told my parents, but they said it was all in my head. Over the years, I saw psychologists, hoping for an explanation, but no one could make sense of what happened to me. Now, as an adult, I've heard people talking about a place called the Backrooms. Maybe that's where I ended up. I don't know for sure, but the thought still sends chills down my spine, leaving me haunted by the fear of ending up there again. Just remember that some places you walk into can lead to other places. So don't go messing around and wandering off, thinking it's just a mere prank. You have been warned.